Hello, folks. Welcome to Evening Brews. We got a special one for you here. This is a tactics formation special we're going to do. I'm here with the one and only David, Mr. Positivity. Let's roll it. Awesome. I'm looking forward to this, brother. This is gonna be fun. We haven't really had a chance to do this on this channel as much as we're gonna try to. So, first of all, if you're watching the show, everybody, make sure you get into the comments. Tell us what you think about our tactical analysis, as much as we're gonna try to do one, and let us know if you like it. And we're gonna, bring in some of this into the channel a little bit and see what everybody thinks. How you doing, David? How's things? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I had a busy day, but been looking forward to this one. We've been speaking about this for a fair few weeks now and trying to plan it and everything. And obviously, we've never done this before. So if there's any big statisticians out there who want to come in and be like, "Look, give us a chance.
Yeah.
We're going to take our time. We're going to learn this. We're going to learn this." So yeah, looking forward to it, mate.
Yeah, for sure. If anybody wants to teach us anything, or if they have any thoughts about this show in particular, or if they want to come on and add something to the next time we do it, that'd be fantastic. All right, well, let's get into it. I want to start with obviously the starting lineup. The starting lineup is the first thing we're going to do. We'll bring this graphic up. Everybody kind of had an expectation of seeing the same players playing. I think there's a few people who thought maybe Madison might get dropped. Obviously, Basuma isn't in the starting lineup because of his shenanigans, which we've spoken about on other on other shows. But what were your thoughts on this? I think this was exactly how we finished last season, or at least how we'd expect to, other than maybe the Basuma out and the Benton Kerr in, but that was due to necessity. What were your thoughts on the starting lineup, David? What do you think?
Yeah, when it was announced, I was excited. I thought it was a strong lineup initially, especially with obviously having Solanke as the new person up front. I was really excited. It looked like a strong team. And yeah, I was surprised with Saw personally. I thought he may have been dropped because his performance in preseason wasn't up to the standard he can usually bring. And I thought maybe an Archie Gray or a Bergwall would be pushed in. But overall, for me personally, I thought it was a really good, strong starting lineup for our first game of the season.
Do you think Postecoglou is being a little bit overly careful here? Because these are the players that know his system. Obviously, you've got talk about Gray and Bergwall coming in. But Gray and Bergwall, for me, in the preseason, stood out as players that, especially Bergwall, I think, who would have made a difference in that midfield. That I think Sarr gets lost a little bit because he does a lot that you don't really notice because of he's running around and breaking up play and stuff. But do you think maybe he was being a little bit careful, a little bit cautious in this lineup because it's sort of comfortable and they know the tactics and they know it's the Premier League?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I definitely think he was playing that safe. The safe style, the safe thoughts within his head that with the players he knows. I don't think he should have done. I think he should have experimented, been a bit more, risky. But you can understand it as well. It's the first game of the season. He was obviously hoping that these players who he's trusted since last season were going to push him to a win. We know that didn't happen, but I think in his head he definitely 100% wanted to play that safe. He didn't want to risk using the young players, and you can't really blame him. First game of the season. At the end of the day,
yeah, for sure. Fair enough. I think that's the thing that stood out for me. It was like it was safe, but I think it's probably the right decision in this case. I mean, you've still got those players off the bench that any one of them could come on and have an effect on the game and do the things that you want them to, which we eventually will get to when substitutions took place. A couple standout players for me in this game that I think people were worried about Madison and whether or not he was going to have the form that he had at the beginning of last season. I arguably think he did. I think especially the first half. Obviously, the whole team kind of let us down in the 55th minute to about the 65th minute, where the Leicester got a hold of things. But Madison off that left hand side, him and Son kind of just grinding it out, creating, and obviously the goal came from there with Pedro Porro. That was like Madison's performance was a standout for me. I thought he looked really, really good. And Dom Solanke, I think maybe he didn't score and he had a lot of chances, but I think his target, the fact that he was in there dragging a lot of Leicester's defenders around, getting him out of position, making space for other players to get in and around the box. we had a ton of chances. Now I want to bring this up, and this is sort of the Madison from the left hand side, and sort of the chances that we ended up having because of it. If this is an expected goals graph from both, obviously we're purple, they're blue. The purple, if you look inside that 18-yard box and even the 6-yard box, some really big chances were created from a lot of this from Madison's ball in, a lot of it from the left of Sun cutting in as well. But Solanke pulling a lot of players. I think some of these big chances are him as well. What were your thoughts on Solanke's effect on the way the team played? And then obviously, speaking about Madison and his role in the team and the quality that he brought, I think, back from what we saw in the first 10 games of last season.
Yeah, definitely. With regards to Solanke, it was synonymous with a person whose first game into a new club.
Yeah,
abundance of chances, but just can't get that goal, you know. And I don't blame him. I thought he had a fantastic game in the first half. He was energetic, he was pressing a lot, he was finding great space. But again, first ever game for a new club. What happened with him was just synonymous with a lot of players.
Yeah,
when they hit a new club, they get the chances, they just haven't got that goal threat there. So I feel like that was his kind of game there. Madison, I thought, was one of his best games he's had for a while for us in that first half. He was full of energy. He was trying to link up play. He was making some good balls. The one thing I found about him, he wasn't being overly risky, though. I've seen a couple of passes out to the wide areas where he's seen them. You can see him looking, but then he was like, no, I'm going to pass it here. Instead, like he'll pass it back into midfield, or he'll make an outside pass to the wing or something like that. But overall, I think his overall game for the first half was really, really good. It was nice to see
I saw
him.
Sonny do that as well. I felt like that was maybe something that tactically speaking, the coach is trying to ingrain in them, and the players are maybe over listening. Get it to the byline, cut it back inside, get it to whoever's in there, whether it's Udogie or Porro on a runner, or obviously Solanke. I felt like that you could see them almost like, instead of taking that shot, Sonny, a couple of moments, he's at the top of the box, 18-yard box, on his right foot, cuts inside. Instead, brilliant pass to Madison doing the overlap, but you're kind of expecting him, come on, hit it. Like we just saw you do it in the preseason. Just put a top corner and get it done, right? But instead, he does the extra pass. I felt like that was a little bit. Maybe there was a bit too much of that happening from a tactical perspective. I felt like the players maybe just overthinking it a touch, but I think that'll loosen up a little bit, and I don't have too much problem with that. Another thing I want to talk about is the sort of the where players were on the pitch. So this is kind of the next topic, is players' positions, and sort of a little bit about that being like the high line. So I saw something different, and again, I'm analyzing this. I'm nerding out a little bit in where the players are, and where's the sitting midfielder sitting? How deep are they sitting? How exposed are we going to be when the fullbacks do their overlap and end up in the midfield? Because that obviously, I think it was 63 or 68 goals against last season, something absurd. We haven't had that much in ages. Allowing that much space in behind was the problem. But in the first half, I saw what seemed to be a pretty comfortable defensive midfield, and it looked like they were rotating at Sarr and Bentancur, not necessarily in the same position all the time, but there was always protection in front of Romero and Van de Ven, and they didn't really have anything getting in behind us in that first half. That changed in the second half, but what were your thoughts just in regards to that? Did you see that the high line was maybe a little bit, from what I saw, it felt like it was a little bit more controlled rather than sort of what we saw at the end of last season, where it was kind of like, oh God, here we go again.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with your assessment there. I think the high line with Van de Ven and Romero, like you're saying, they pushed up, but you didn't see them go too far. They weren't spread away from here too much. They kind of stayed in a certain distance throughout that first half, which allowed us to control Vardy when the balls were coming up over the top, because obviously Leicester wanted to play the long ball. They're looking for the counter.
Yeah, looking that over the top.
Looking for that feed off of the second ball. We kind of controlled that in the first half very, very well. I felt like when Udogie and Porro, like you're saying, they were pushing up. When we lost that ball, you can see them come into like sort of like a 4, but like a tight 4. So even though like Udogie was on the left a lot, Van de Ven filled the space there. Romero filled the space there, and they didn't leave a gap in the middle like we did last season.
Yeah.
In that first half, we had kind of a synergy between the back four. Second half is a completely different story, but in that first half, I totally agree with that assessment. I think our back line looked a lot more solid, and I think the way we played kept Leicester to a minimum of what they wanted to do. Our tactics in the first half forced them to be sitting back, forced them to be on the back foot, saying, well, hold on a minute, we lose the ball here, we're going to be straight backs to goal running back. And I think it worked very well. The tactics first half, you can see by numbers what we did. We peppered them for the first half. We just didn't have that striker there to convert them.
Yeah, and so let's take a quick look at that sort of peppering here. I brought a graphic up here. We're sort of looking at the attacking threat that you're seeing from both sides. That first half, you can see obviously from our perspective, very very attacking. I think they had only one notch where they had a one moment in our first half where they got into our half and had a chance. This was clear. There was something that was really working in the second half, and then we see that when we get into the second half, which we're now going to talk a little bit about. The 57th minute was around when they scored their goal. They got into our other half. This for me is when what we were just talking about started to fall apart a little bit. Was the fullbacks, as good as they were in the first half, getting forward and putting so much pressure on Leicester's defense that they couldn't get out. And maybe this is just a leg thing of maybe from Udogie in particular. He seemed started to look a little bit tired for me. And they started to get in behind him, and he made a couple of errors that he didn't make at the beginning of last season because he was fully fit. He's only played, I don't know how many, he's trained a little bit and played 45 minutes, I think, in our preseason. So we didn't really have him the whole preseason to build up his fitness. So maybe we're looking a little bit into that. What were your thoughts there? Do you think that was partially it? We sort of saw a little bit of fitness issues, and then something that they need to focus on is not allowing other teams. So arguably what I think, just to finish this thought, happened was they started to push up the pitch a little bit and press a little bit more, and that press pushed our fullbacks out of position. And because they're now out of position, they then had those spaces in behind that they didn't in the first half. That's kind of what I noticed. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, when they scored their goal, I mean, I think it was the 56th minute. Bentancur literally had a shot with his left foot that was, I think, saved.
Should have scored arguably, and then it went the other way.
Should have scored. Yeah, should have scored. But then when Leicester came out, they didn't come out with the long ball. They came out through obviously a press, and they passed it to the right, and it was moved too easy. And I think in that transition there, I agree with what you're saying. The whole team looked leggy in that transition.
Yeah.
We nearly could have scored. The ball was moved out quickly by Leicester. And Udogie, he was just, again, in the second half, he just looked knackered. He just looked like he couldn't play football. He just didn't know where to be,
giving the ball away, sloppy with his passing.
Yeah, exactly.
He sort of like kid stuff, we saw that with him last season every now and again. You could see if he was having to run too much, which in that position, those two players arguably run the most in the game. So I think it had a massive effect on him. And unfortunate, of course. So Leicester go the other way. They score a goal. Their press worked. They then gained energy into this is football. It's what happens. It's momentum game. You get momentum from a goal like that, and then they get another really clear cut chance, which obviously Vicario made a very good save on. He had to go down with his left hand to make a save. And then Ange is looking at the game, and I'm yelling at the TV like, you need to make some subs here, right? This is the moment. They've taken hold of the game. So it was probably about a 10 to 15 minute period from the 56-minute goal till about the 70th or just before that. And I'm thinking about 65. Like, bring on. It doesn't matter if they're kids. Bring on the kids, because their energy is going to change the game, and it's exactly what happened. So we see the substitutions, and that's our next category here. We see the substitutions come on, where we bring on Archie Gray, we bring on Bergvall. And what looked to me, going from a 4-3-3, the sort of traditional way we've been playing, to a 4-1-4-1. So we went very attacking. Kulusevski comes on as well. We went, this is flood the box. Let's get the game back to where it was. Let's make sure that it's being played in their half. And of course, we can bring up that graphic again. Looking at it, you can sort of see what happened. They had that moment. They had a couple of other minor moments, but then we're back to attacking that massive attacking threat. What did you see about the subs that you liked, as far as the four that came on? Was 4 too many? Tactically speaking, do you think it worked? Or arguably, other than obviously not scoring the winner, but do you think that the quality and the level that we still played at was what you'd expect?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, when he made them subs, I think it was kind of panicked as well. I think he had a couple of them subs in his mind that he was going to do. Then obviously with the Bentancur injury and the way
that had an effect. Yeah, I forgot to mention that.
Massive effect.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that kind of forced his hand where he had to add them extra couple of players. For me, I don't think he would have put on Archie Gray and Bergvall. I think he would have done with Timo and Kulu.
Yeah.
But he was kind of forced his hand a bit there. And I think it was too many at one point. It did change the game a little. You seen from the graph, we had a bit more extra about us. The energy from Bergvall and obviously Archie Gray in that midfield gave us a bit more structured, a bit more press. I thought Kulu did fantastic when he came on. He looked to get forward every time he received the ball. He was on the turn, so it was kind of positive. Timo tried, but he was on the right and he's better on the left.
Just being on the right for me just doesn't work.
No, it just struggled. And I
that
think
was an odd one because he sorry to interrupt, brother. He didn't do that last season once. Like what? Like is that only to keep Son on? And like I get that Son's he had an okay game, Son, but he wasn't breaking down players on the left. Timo on the left would have done at that point because those players would have been tired trying to deal with Son for 75 minutes. Put Timo on the left and just let him run at him like he does, and you're going to get balls into the box. I think that was an error from Ange there for me.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, if you wanted to keep Son on, put Son on the right. Son can play on the right. We've seen it. We've seen it under Poch. We've seen it under Jose, and we've seen it under Conte. He can actually play on the right. And I think that's where Ange missed a trick. I think he got too stubborn and he forced himself to kind of panic a little. First game of the season, you just conceded a goal you shouldn't have conceded.
Desperate for that win, right?
Yeah, desperate for that win. And you can see when the goal went in, his hands and all that, and it was just like, But I think as well, when the other players came on, they gave energy and everything, but some of the other players who were still on the pitch kind of let them down a little bit. I mean, Porro for the Bergvall mistake, yeah? Romero gives him a suicide ball. He's got two players around him. He's got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Right? He gives him a suicide ball, which puts him under pressure immediately. Young kid, yes, he should have kicked out, but that's the inexperience of bringing on a young player. So they just sometimes don't make the right decision. But then Romero should have made the right decision and kick it up the pitch. And I feel like, yes, there were positives with the subs, and it could have went a different way. I just think it was too late in the game and too many at once. It should have been spread out a little bit earlier, spread them out, and it would have added little extra bits within the game. Put on an Archie Gray to start with, add a Bergvall, put on Kulu or Timo, and you do it gradually rather than in a panic mode of all four at once,
Yeah, I think I agree 100%. I think that looked panicky from him, and I think the Bentancur injury didn't help that situation because he then had to replace him too. I think you probably would have seen maybe 2 or 3 subs at that point, but because of the injury to Bentancur, he had to make a difficult decision. But yeah, it still did seem a little bit, even then, still a bit like, why are we doing? And then why put Timo on the right? Like you could, it was like putting square pegs a little bit for me, and I think he could have chilled out a little bit. Take your time, bring it. Like Decky definitely coming into the middle, and his energy and what he did in preseason, he arguably should have started if you ask me, but that's another conversation. I guess we could have talked about that in the starting lineup, because I thought Brennan Johnson was relatively useless in this game, didn't really do a heck of a lot, and I think Decky against the low block, which is what Leicester applied in the first half, Decky would have been better to get in behind because he's much used to running at players and more physical, and I think Johnson doesn't really have that, and we haven't seen it from him, which is unfortunate because he has it in his bag, but he doesn't use it. So just to add to that, 1-1 draw against the Leicester team away should have, arguably should go into that game, I think, and get the win. We've got Everton at the weekend. Do you see anything, just to sort of wrap it up, do you see anything going into Everton that's going to be different in the starting lineup or different tactically that he'll apply based on what he saw this week?
No, I mean, obviously with Bentancur being injured, he's got to fill that hole. I'm hoping he uses an Archie Gray. I know there's reports Basuma is going to be back in for that game, but I still think even if you fit Basuma there, I just don't think he's right at the moment. I think an Archie Gray or a Bergvall would be good to start. I know they're still young and they will make mistakes, but you've got to allow that. They've got to learn, and you don't learn by sitting on the bench staring at the pitch. So.
And the funny thing is, just to quickly add, learning as well is like even though they're learning and they make one mistake, they still looked like really freaking good. So just to add to that.
No, I totally agree. No, it's worth adding because I know, what I mean? There has been criticisms of the situations that they put themselves in or happened, but I think they'll learn from that, and they are really good players, and I'm excited to see how the season goes. I still think Solanke should start up front. He looked sharp. He was getting shots on goal. It's just first game. It's first game, new team. But this is a new team. You've got to understand. He had about at least 4, 5, 6 shots.
Yeah, just to tactically speaking as well, the shots aren't everything, and this is the reason why Poch brought him in. He also holds the ball up really well. He comes in, he drops a bit deep. He doesn't drop as deep as Kane used to, because there's enough midfielders in there. But he does drop a little bit, and he does pull players around. And he's massive. He's a big fella, and he's also really good with the ball at his feet. So his passing is good. His understanding of the reading of the game is really good. I actually think he's going to work really well in the system. Like I watched him quite a bit because I was curious as to what Ange was seeing in him, but I saw a lot there. I saw a lot from him that leads me to believe he's going to end up being really, really useful. Did I say Poch?
I said Poch. Yeah. It's because you're about to transition into the Kane part. Your head must have said Poch, talking about Poch and Kane. Sorry, it's fine. It's fine. We all make it.
I saw the private chat. I'm like, oh god, what did I say?
No, it's okay. Trust me. I said that Phil Jones for United was £600,000 a week.
It comes out. Postecoglou. Yeah. I think he's going to do. I think he's going to be. Solanke's going to do really well in this Postecoglou's system, because of not just what he does with the ball at his feet and what he can do in the box, but what he does off the ball and his size and his stature. Players are going to be afraid of him. He does need to finish, but like you said, I think it's the right. It's accurate to say it's the first game. You do want to see a player the first time in a new team get that first goal early just to get it out of the way. And so I really was hoping for him to get one and get it out of the system. And then I think go on a run. And I think he will do that. And I think against Everton are going to be very similar to Leicester. They're going to play a low block. It's going to be, we're going to have a control of the game with a lot of the ball. We have to finish players other than Solanke as well, but everybody, the chances being given, the amount of chances we were given, the system worked really well in that first half. Just get 2 or 3 goals, and then it doesn't matter if the other team, because they're going to have to open up. We can get in behind them, and we can relax a little bit. But going in 1-0 down, can't do that. Can't do that with this team, because of the fitness side of it, and because we can't be that wasteful in front of goal. But any other thoughts, tactically speaking, before we finish up?
I just want to add to what you mentioned there, because it's actually a really good point. I think you kind of just gave it a little bit, but when you mentioned it about scoring a couple of goals to open a team up, I think Ange's tactics and formation, the way we play, really works when we scored a couple of goals and a team opens up.
100%.
That's what we need to, and I think that's what he bases his whole situation on. Get a couple of goals, the team opens up, then we can just break them apart with the way we play.
Exactly right.
In that situation with that 1-0. And you don't add them extra goals, you leave yourself open to conceding, which I think
100%. And if you look at his comments after the game, that's exactly what he said. He's like, we were wasteful in front of goal in the first half. It should have been 3-4-0, which is 100% true. Even if we finished 50% of the chances we had, it still would have been 3. Like, there was some quality chances. And to be fair to their keeper and defender saved one off the line, which was ridiculous. And then their keeper made a couple of big ones as well. So not every week that's going to happen, but you got to go into that half at least 2-0 up. Otherwise, you put yourself in the exact situation we didn't want to be in, and we don't go on to win it. So frustrating. But anyways, this has been a ton of fun, man. I really enjoyed this. A little bit shorter show for everybody, 23 minutes on a pre-record. So hope you guys enjoy this. Get in the comments. Cut us some slack if you have to. If you make fun of me for saying Poch because I made the mistake. If there's anything else you'd like us to say or see us analyze in these types of show, we're going to try to do them regularly, but we may turn it into its own show, or we might do them as specials on Evening Brews or Morning Brews, where it's only going to be determined based on what you guys think of it. So make sure you get in the comments and let us know what you think. And it'll probably only happen as well when there's big moments. We thought this was the first game of the season, so we thought we'd talk about it. So get in the comments, and thanks for watching. And David, thanks for being here with me doing this. It's a ton of fun.
Always.
Looking forward to doing more of them. We'll see you next time. Cheers.
Tottenham.